Mr. Vinerite, why do you think you would be a good fit for mayor with your criminal past?
And what criminal past is that? Are you referring to characters I've played in movies? I'll gladly remind you that my performances on the silver screen have nothing to do with my qualifications to lead this city. Now, let's get back to the real issues, shall we?
Thank you, Mr. Vinerite. I agree, we shall. Dr. Restrepo, given your status at Bayview, how do you feel your skills as a doctor transfer into running a city?
Thank you, Mari. That's a great question. Being a doctor, especially in trauma and emergency medicine, has taught me how to handle high-pressure situations where every decision matters. Running a city may not be the same as being in an operating room, but the core skills transfer. Thinking quickly, assessing problems efficiently, and making decisions that impact people's lives. One of the most important things I've learned in medicine is the ability to remove personal beliefs from the decision-making process in order to do what's best for the patient. There have been times when I've had to save someone I knew was a bad person, someone I had strong personal feelings about, but in that moment, my job isn't to judge, it's to act in the best interest of saving a life. That ability to separate personal feelings from responsibility is critical in leadership as well. In my field, there's no room for ego, no time for indecision. You work with a team, you listen to the experts in their fields, and you act based on what will serve the greater good. Not on what benefits you personally, not on emotions, not on what's popular in the moment. That's the kind of leadership Portofino needs, one that is proactive, solutions-focused, and most importantly, puts people first. So, to answer your question, I believe my experience has prepared me to lead with strategy, compassion, and the ability to handle crises head-on. Whether that's in a hospital or at City Hall.
If I may. Look folks, David's talking about teamwork, but let's be real, building the Vinerite brand. Sure, it's my brainchild, but I've worked with top directors, marketing experts, advertising pros. Teamwork's key, and it's not something uniquely learned in the year that I'm foreign to. And it's not like I'm reinventing the wheel here. I've struck big brand deals, huge ones. That's how you get things done. It's not rocket science, it's called winning.
If elected, what specific plans do you have for collaborating with first responders to ensure they have the resources, training, and support needed to keep our community safe? Nicholas, why don't you start?
Thank you for letting us know, Nick. None of the things I mentioned are uniquely learned in the ER for sure. But the question was about my medical experience, and I answered truthfully.
David, being in the ER doesn't make you a city leader, it makes you a doctor. Running Portofino takes more than just stitching people up. I'm talking big moves, not band-aids. We're gonna make Portofino great, not just fine. And trust me, it's gonna be huge. As for your question, Aubrey Kevin Huntsman. Done. No more loitering. We're running a city, not a bus stop. And these court cases? An embarrassment. I'm sorry to Mr. Carter, but we'll do better. The Mayoral Crime Squad, they're not just going to reduce crime, we're going to eradicate it. Portofino won't know what hit it. We'll make it safe again, real safe.
Thank you, Aubrey, for the question. Ensuring the safety of Portofino isn't about flashy statements or quick fixes, it's about real strategy, collaboration, and making sure first responders have what they actually need to do their jobs effectively. The way I see it, public safety is a joint effort: law enforcement, emergency medical services, firefighters, coroners, forensic teams, the courts. If one part of that system is failing, the whole thing suffers. So, my approach isn't just about increasing patrols or making a show of cleaning up the streets, it's about investing in the infrastructure that prevents crime in the first place and ensures justice is served efficiently. That means better training and resources for law enforcement, equipping officers not just with more tools, but with better procedures for handling investigations and de-escalating situations. Strengthening coordination between departments, ensuring law enforcement, coroners, and forensic teams work seamlessly to build stronger cases, leading to better prosecutions. Reviewing the court system, because cases getting stuck in limbo, bad rulings, or lack of follow-through undermines public trust in justice. And proactive crime prevention, this means outreach programs, support systems for at-risk individuals, and giving young people opportunities so they don't turn to crime in the first place. We don't solve crime by treating symptoms, we solve it by addressing the root causes and building a system that actually works. That's how we make Portofino not just look safe, but be safe.
So, Doc, great plan. But, where's the money coming from? You're talking about all these resources and coordination. But I gotta ask, how are we gonna pay for all that?
That's a fair question, Nick, and one I've been preparing for. I've been reviewing the town's finances, and the reality is that we don't need massive new investments to make these changes happen. Trainings, procedural improvements, and interdepartmental coordination don't require an overhaul of the budget, they require prioritization, not acquisition. Let's take your Mayoral crime squad as an example. If you're equipping an entirely new force with tools, weapons, vehicles, and operational costs, that's a huge expense. But improving training, case handling, forensic coordination, and procedural efficiency? That falls under existing budgets. Right now, it's about using what we already have more effectively, improving procedures within law enforcement, streamlining cases with the court system, ensuring first responders are equipped with knowledge and strategy rather than just throwing money at new tools. None of this requires additional resources, it just requires leadership that knows how to prioritize. So to answer your question, Nick, we're going to pay for it with the budget Portofino already has, by making smarter decisions, not bigger purchases.
I want to remind you both to stay on course with your responses. You will both have plenty of time before the initial election to convince the public of your dedication to them if elected. Now, moving on to another question posed towards the two of you. Mr. Weinreich, if someone were to vote for you as mayor of Portofino, will they be able to consider you a mayor that listens to your citizens? Adding to that, what fun or things will you bring to help with engagement in Portofino?
Huh? One moment, Mari, I'll get to that but. Alright, but here's the thing, Doc. Who's paying for the specialists? You know, the people who have the actual knowledge to make these changes work. Why aren't they doing it now if it's so simple? The Mayoral Crime Squad will be funded by investments. Real investments into our town. Real growth. Absolutely, without a doubt. In fact, I'm so transparent, I'll have an open door policy. Of course, you'll have to pass security, but we'll keep it simple. I don't plan to take a single penny in salary from this town. Instead, I'll invest it back into the city because this town deserves more than just talk. And to prove that commitment, I'm working on bringing the very first Portofino air show. It's going to be huge, and it will bring excitement, tourism, and yes, jobs to this town.
And Dr. Restrepo.
Coffee Date at Buena Vibra has been about hearing what people actually want for Portofino. That won't change if I'm elected. If anything, it'll only grow. I believe a mayor is, first and foremost, a public servant. This role isn't about personal power, it's about service. Leadership, to me, isn't about standing above people, it's about working with them. That means creating a government in conjunction with the public, not separate from it. The best policies, the best ideas, don't just come from one person sitting behind a desk, they come from the people living their daily lives in this town. My job is to listen, to bring those ideas together, and to make sure the decisions being made actually reflect the needs of the people. Now, when it comes to engagement and fun, because let's be honest, a town that only focuses on politics isn't much of a town, I want Portofino to feel alive. Festivals, cultural events, markets that bring the community together, things that celebrate who we are. I've always believed that cities thrive when people feel connected to them. Whether that's through community-driven events, spaces where people can gather and unwind, or initiatives that highlight what makes Portofino unique, I want to create an environment where people aren't just living here, they're enjoying living here. So to answer your question, yes, if I'm elected, you can expect a mayor who listens, who collaborates, and who works every day to make sure Portofino isn't just functioning, but thriving.
Thank you so very much.
Seriously, folks, if listening was all it took, David would be the mayor of every town by now. They'd probably find him in the coffee shop. We need someone who actually knows how to lead, not just sip.
When looking ahead at the future of Portofino, strong leadership means having clear priorities and a plan to accomplish them. What are your top 3 priorities for our city, and how do you plan to achieve them? David, you can start.
Great question, Aubrey. My top 3 priorities for Portofino are public safety, economic growth, and community well-being. These aren't just talking points. These are real, tangible issues that impact every single resident, and I have a plan to address them. First, public safety. Crime is on the rise, and we can't afford to treat it like a political slogan. It's a real issue that requires real strategy. As we discussed before, we need to improve law enforcement. Training and procedures, strengthen the connection between first responders, forensic teams, and the court system, and focus on preventing crime before it happens. This isn't about making a flashy task force. It's about making sure the resources we already have are used effectively so Portofino is not just looking safe, but being safe. Second, economic growth. Portofino thrives when its businesses thrive. That means supporting small business owners, attracting responsible investment, creating opportunities so people don't feel like they have to leave town to find success. I plan to work closely with local entrepreneurs, make business-friendly improvements, and ensure that Portofino remains a place where people want to live, work, and invest. And finally, community well-being. A city isn't just about its economy or its crime rates, it's about its people. That means improving healthcare, access mental health resources,